Welcome to 3DLANES number 84. And today I would like to talk about one specific company that I know. I like kicking a dead horse, but in this case, uh, yeah, I'm gonna talk about Volkswagen again, and it's mainly because of my love for Volkswagen. But in this case, I would like to analyze strategic decisions of Volkswagen and how has Volkswagen and in the current situation that they're at, and how basically they dug their own hole. And this starts, from my point of view, from 2013 to 2015 through the Dieselgate scandal. So because Volkswagen wanted to pursue a strategy to overtake Toyota as and GM as the world's largest automaker by volume, they thought going diesel would give them their way to do this. But in 2015, it was found, the whole Dieselgate situation, they had been cheating some emission tests and using software to basically uh, not pass emission regulations, but almost going around it and pretend that they did, basically. But in this same 2015, their CEO resigned, Matthias Müller, and no, Martin Winterkorn resigned. He was the current CEO. Matthias Müller becomes the CEO, and he tries to solve or salvage the whole situation. In 2016, Volkswagen set aside 6.7 billion for recall costs. Also, 2016, they agreed 14.7 billion of settlement in the US. In 2017, they pled guilty to criminal charges in the US, and they paid 2.8 billion federal criminal fine, and 6 executives got indicted because of this. 2017, they also unveiled the roadmap E to go through electrification. This would target 1 million EVs per year by 2025, 80 new EV models by 2025. This was back in 2017, right? Then in April 2018, Matthias Müller got kicked out of Volkswagen. Herbert Diaz named CEO and reorganized into volume, premium, super premium brand clusters. And he also added the regional structure for China, supposedly to make everything more efficient and, make everything move better for the company. By May 2018, Diaz addresses the shareholders and says that, Volkswagen is going to be honest. We're going to share more with the public. We're going to be more open, more truthful, and we're going to commit to ethics and compliance, right, in everything. This is still carrying over from Dieselgate 2013, 2015 timeframe. By 2020, VW created the CARIAD or Car IAD, which is a dedicated software subsidiary, and this intended to build a unified software across VW, Audi, and Porsche. But this is triggered and chasing the trend that Tesla has put out there, because obviously we know that Tesla is the benchmark in the EV space and how much they sell, right? In 2021, there's reports of restructuring VW's 12 brands into 4 holding company clusters: volume, premium tech, sport luxury, and commercial. Again, this is aimed to speeding decision making and clarifying brand roles within the group. By 2022, Herbert Diaz departs as CEO, and Oliver Bloom, the old Porsche CEO, succeeds him. uh, supposedly there was a disagreement over software strategy and delays tied to carry-out, compounded by special conflicting technical requests from Porsche and Audi. So Porsche and Audi did not agree with what the software was being put out by Volkswagen or carry-out, and this is what why the old CEO got out. By 2022, 2023, carry-out software delays push back EV launches for Porsche Macan EV and Audi Q6 e-tron by up to 3 years. 2,000 cardiac jobs cut in 2023. Added to that, so the software architecture was originally due 2022, but it slipped to 2024, 2025. The whole VW's tech C-suite was replaced by 2024. Cardiac posts, sorry, 2.64 billion operating loss on 1.44 billion revenue. So they lost quite a bit of money. This is cumulative from 2022 to 2024, and carried losses exceeds 7.5 billion against the 3.5 billion revenue that they make. So now there's a new carried CEO, Peter Bosch, and he pursues reorganization, right? Like as usual. Uh, cost cuts, insourcing of code, and reducing reliance on outside suppliers. By late 2024, the restructuring agreement with unions, meaning Volkswagen commits to cutting 35,000 plus German jobs by 2030. This is going to be by voluntary departure, so they're technically not going to fire anybody. Just people that want to leave, they can leave. Precursors to the 2026 restructuring plan addressing costs, uh, competitiveness, pressure. This is what triggered this whole change. And by July 2026, VW Executive Board presents a sweeping 4-year restructuring plan again. Streamline model, range by up to 50%. They cut product complexity up by 75%, and this is what we've been hearing lately, right? And then they're trying to harmonize technologies across brands, align production capacity to 9 million vehicles per year, and consider closing 4 German plants and cutting up to 100,000 jobs. And this is, if you're a VW fan or if you follow VW, you probably hear about this. And it was a bit of rumbling in the VW community about this. And this is not exactly the trigger of this episode, but I think it's a good to know. But yeah, the response that we get from Volkswagen was that mounting pressure from global competitors, particularly in China, targeting a more resilient, more efficient, and more competitive company by 2030. So that is the timeline up to today, right? We start from Dieselgate and we get to 2026. But another thing that I wanted to analyze is one, the explanations and analysis that other experts have put out there about their leadership, and second, compare with a competitor. So let's start with the explanations. So what leadership said was Chairman Poich. I don't know if I'm saying the last name correctly. I'll put these tables in the website when this post is up. Not when this episode is out, but the post that accompanies this podcast episode will be on the website eventually. But he said the emissions cheating stemmed from engineers being unable to meet regulatory targets within the time budget given. So an execution failure, not systemic fraud by design. But people, experts out there, they say academic and legal analysis attribute the scandal to Volkswagen's broader management culture, governance structure, and incentive systems that reward aggressive goal setting without accountability checks. Aggressive goal setting without accountability checks. So they can achieve the goal without being accountable for cheating or anything like that. A systemic/organizational cause rather than an isolated technical failure. So we can say that the problem is within the company. Early management line. Fraud was the work of lower ranking employees, not board members. That's what they said, right? But the US federal investigation found that then CEO Winterkorn was aware of the emissions conspiracy as early as of 2014 and failed to report it, implicating top leadership directly rather than only rogue engineers. So don't lie to me, Volkswagen. You knew that. And well, at least the old Volkswagen knew that. And they failed to report. This is a problem that the company has encountered. People don't believe what Volkswagen says. This carries over. Volkswagen's 2022 CEO transition and CARIAD restructuring were framed publicly around software execution and delivery timelines. The reporting attributed to Diaz in 2022, of his departure specifically, was to an internal power strategy disagreement about software direction. This compounded by conflicting technical demands from Porsche and Audi, meaning they did not agree on the software situation, right? An organizational governance and coordination issue rather than a pure technology execution issue. So it was not just the technology, but it was a disagreement within the company again. The 2026 restructuring plan frames current pressures around external competitive factors, particularly in China. That's what they say. But the experts outside say industry commentary, right? They argue that Volkswagen's competitive erosion stems from an internal failure to master software-defined vehicle architecture years earlier, not solely from external Chinese competition. And we'll get into this, but I think Volkswagen was chasing here, was reacting. There was no innovation there. And now if we move to the second point that I wanted to talk, which is the competitor, which is Toyota. Toyota faced the same signal, right? Rising EV adoption, expectations following Tesla's rise. That was the signal. They went a different way. And we've spoken about that in this specific podcast. And they've talked about hybrid first the whole time. That's their strategy. And they didn't go full ham on full EV. Toyota was and has been criticized for selling few electric vehicles. And they've been calling Toyota too slow or sluggish when it comes to adopting EVs. And the company placed their bet and they said hybrids and plug-in hybrids are good enough to tackle climate change for the time being. And by 2024, 2025, the EV demand went down and consumers went towards hybrid vehicles to cut fuel costs, right? Toyota sales and profits rose, and commentary noted Toyota's patience and consistency. Oh, now they're patient and consistent, right? But that contrasted with automakers that swung too hard to the EV side, paid for Toyota. Okay, now they're good, right? But before, everybody was complaining about Toyota. Two different car companies, two different stories, different strategies, different management. That's the analysis that I wanted to make for the next episode. And I wanted to make a 2-in-1, but I think that would have been too long. I will leave it here. I would have more information on the blog post, more nuanced information. But yeah, I will leave it here. And this is my brief analysis of Toyota's leadership and why they are where they are today. I appreciate your time. I will see you next time.